Water mafias target victims of Eastern Cape floods and those providing life-saving relief.
And have resolved, sadly so, that the mortal remains of President Edgar Chagwa Lungu will not return home today.
That's after a spat between Lungu's family and the Zambian government. The victorious history-making Proteas return home. And we asked South Africa's Cardinal Brislin if he thought he might become Pope. Hello, I'm Jane Dutton.
EWN, in touch, in tune, and independent.
The police ministry has condemned threats against humanitarian groups providing emergency aid to flood-stricken communities in the Eastern Cape. That includes humanitarian aid organisation Gift of the Givers. Police say criminals linked to service providers contracted by the OR Tambo District Municipality have allegedly been threatening volunteers distributing drinking water to residents in and around Mthatha, and is linked to a so-called water mafia, allegedly involving contractors who'd been providing water tanker services to the district.
The SAPS will ensure the safety of all humanitarian workers in the area and hold those responsible fully accountable under the law.
And yet, Human Settlements Minister believes it's not them, it's the community.
As technical teams, we meet first thing in the morning. I would assume maybe it's community members out of the devastation, poverty, possibly what we are allocating is not sufficient.
The death toll remains at 90 with more than 3,000 people displaced. The convicted murderers in the Cleveland's hostel massacre in Umlazi in June 2023 have each been handed down 8 life sentences. The group threatened people to give up their beds so that they could make money, charging up to 6,000 rand renting the spaces. Prosecutors have asked the court to sentence the accused to life imprisonment.
They have displayed no remorse throughout this trial. State submits that the offences took place in a hostel where vulnerable members of society lived.
You are each sentenced to life imprisonment in accordance with the section 1 and part 1 of Schedule 2 of the Penal Code.
The state is preparing to argue its first step in the appeal against the judgment in the Timothy Omotoso human trafficking and sex crimes trial in open court. National Prosecuting Authority head Shamila Batoya has revealed in Parliament that in an unprecedented move, Judge Irma Skuman has asked the state to make oral arguments in its appeal seeking clarity on the factual findings of the judgment. The Nigerian pastor was acquitted in April after nearly 8 years in court, leaving the country shortly afterwards. The NPA launched an appeal last month, and Batoya has today told Parliament there's been movement in the case. She also says only once the factual findings have been clarified will the NPA be able to take the next step to outline the legal basis for its appeal.
I would urge that we wait until the appeal to then decide whether the prosecutors in fact botched the matter. The victorious Proteas have arrived at OR Tambo International Airport following an historic showing in the World Test Championship final. The team won their first major title in 27 years on Saturday after beating Australia by 5 wickets at Lord's Cricket Ground in London. They've walked into a packed arrivals terminal this morning.
It was a moment many years in the making. Captain Themba Bavuma and his teammates were greeted with deafening cheers following their arrival with the Test Championship mace in hand. The hundreds of people gathered in the crowd, including the sports minister, former and current Proteas and everyday fans, sang for Bavuma, whose name echoed throughout the arrivals terminal. This avid cricket enthusiast says he never thought a day like this would come.
Honestly, Saturday was the best day of my life. I think for the past 15 years, I've been supporting the Proteas, probably even longer. And I've been waiting and waiting and waiting to celebrate this moment.
Curious onlookers making their way to catch their flights and taxis to their destinations also shared in the festivities and stopped to take in the spectacle as fans continued to sing familiar South African classics like Shosholoza. Mawande Mateza, Eyewitness News at OR Tambo International Airport.
Overall, inflation in the country remains stable, but South Africans aren't feeling the relief. Stats SA says consumer price inflation stayed at 2.8% in May. Food and non-alcoholic beverages were the single biggest driver behind last month's price rise, with many items now sharply more expensive than they were this time last year. Food inflation has climbed to 4.8%. That's up from 4% in April, led by rising meat and vegetable costs. Beetroot, lettuce and carrots are seeing double-digit spikes. And cereals like maize meal and samp are becoming increasingly unaffordable, rising by more than 14% and 20% respectively year on year. The repatriation of the former president of Zambia, Edgar Lungu, has been cancelled. It's understood that the continued disputes between the Lungu family and the Zambian government have prevented the send-off. Lungu's remains were intended to be returned to his homeland from Lanseria Airport in Johannesburg today. Lungu's family spokesperson, Makebo Zulu, says the government had intended to roll out a program which was not agreed upon.
For this reason and many more, the family finds it very difficult to believe that the government will stick to their end of the agreement and have resolved, sadly so, that the mortal remains of President Edgar Lungu will not return home today.
The family of murdered 14-year-old Likona Fosse hope her alleged killer is never freed. Ex-convict Mduduzi Mnisi, charged with the premeditated murder of Fosse in Roodepoort, has appeared in court for a bail application. Fosse's half-naked, mutilated body was found in an open veld not far from her home in Durban Deep a day after she was reported missing.
We're outside the Roodepoort Magistrates Court, where the man accused of murdering 14-year-old Likona Fosse made his second court appearance for a formal bail application. The young girl's body was found mutilated not far from her home in an open field in Durban Deep. 39-year-old Mduduzi Mnisi has a prior conviction of attempted murder and robbery for crimes committed in 2007. Likona Fosse's family has expressed frustration at the delays, saying they were hoping at today's court proceedings that the man would have been denied bail. They're saying they just want justice to be served. Thandaluhle Ngobo, Eyewitness News in Roodepoort.
In the US, Tyler Perry's lawyers have accused an actor who sued him of sexual assault of using the lawsuit to make money. Derek Dixon claims Perry used his influence in the entertainment industry to create a coercive, sexually exploitative dynamic while he was working on The Oval and Ruthless. Dixon said to stop the continued harassment, he elected to leave his role and declined a job by Perry to work as a writer. Perry's lawyers say this is nothing more than a money grab that'll fail. South Africa's Stephen Brislin was one of 133 cardinals who were locked up in the Vatican City to choose the Pope, all done in secret, completely cut off from the outside world. After 2 days of conclave, Pope Leo XIV emerged the most powerful man in the Catholic Church. I asked Cardinal Brislin if, at any stage, he thought it could be him.
Well, you do think that, at least theoretically, and your heart falls a little bit when you think that, because one thing I can tell you that once he was elected Pope, his whole life changed.
Yes.
Anything he had planned for the future, anything he was thinking of was off the table now.
It's a job for life.
It's a job for life, and in many ways no longer his own person. I mean, from there he was led out and he had to go through all the rituals. So I've been joking a little bit that 133 cardinals went in and 132 came out smiling because they weren't elected, yes. Yeah.
You can see the entire interview on YouTube and Prime Media Plus. The Cardinal made some revealing comments about abuse in the church and the challenges of celibacy, amongst other things. We'll see you for more again tomorrow.
EWN, in touch, in tune, and independent.